Hello and welcome to Tricks of the Straight channel. Today is the 22nd of April 2018, and on today's feature we're featuring Bill Gates of Microsoft, and we're featuring someone who recently died, I think maybe a day or 2 days ago, by the name of Avicii. Avicii was a Swedish-born DJ, had very many popular hits that if you listen to EDM music, and you've probably heard about Avicii without knowing that that was Avicii. So those are the two people that we're going to be featuring. Avicii is Small Fish. We've had her on our radar for quite some time, but just because we have so many people to cover, and we didn't think that we would be covering Avicii at this point in time, but because she's dead, and we just want to make the world know that Avicii wasn't what she claimed, and she was part of, let's say, the system that the Vatican has put in place in our world today. It's so sad that Avicii is dead. I wish she was still alive because we don't know that, because when the Vatican takes these young children from childhood and makes them to live in a gender and sex that's different from the sex and gender that we're born with, and makes them to climb up the pedestal of being influential people in a world like Avicii was in EDM music. It's sad that because these children are so confused, we don't know the circumstances of how Avicii could have ended up dead. Maybe she found out that she wasn't actually what he thought, because in her mind she would have thought he was a boy or a man, but getting to find out so many things about herself, or maybe she couldn't stand up to the pressure of living in a sex and gender that's different from the sex and gender she was born with. So Avicii ended up dying. We don't know the circumstances of death, if it was suicide or drug overdose, but these people are under their children, under so much pressure. So I wish she found some peace in her life before she died and made that peace to understand that who she was. But all the same, we're going to tell you exactly what's going on. So people who like EDM music should know that the Vatican is in every single thing. There's no sphere and facet of life that the Vatican isn't involved with. So if it's your first time on our channel, I'd like to welcome you. But before you go any further on this particular video, you need to pause the video and go look for the primer video and watch that primer video. Then you can come back and continue watching this video, because without you watching the primer video, a lot of the things that I'm saying is not going to make any sense to you at all. You're going to have more unanswered questions. The primer video is the most important video that you have to watch on this channel. It will give you a basic foundation so you can understand what we're going to be talking about today. So let me show you how to get to the primer video first. You can go watch that. The primer video has, I think, has about two or three other videos, and on that playlist there's a playlist for it's on the channel called Primer. It has 2 or 3 more videos that you need to watch, which is very, very important also, so you can understand what we're going to be talking about here today. So let's do that first before we can continue with this video. So here is the Primer video right here. I'm hovering my mouse right over it. It's going to be the oldest video on the channel, like I said before, and it also has a playlist called Primer. So this is the video you need to watch. And when you pick on any video that you're watching on this channel, there's always a link in the description section. If you haven't had time to, or if you've watched the videos before and you haven't had time to go through the link section, we advise you that you should do that. So when you click on this link right here for a first-time subscriber, it's going to take you to a document. The document is called Male versus Female Visual Differences. We advise that you download this document and read it so you can understand the primary and secondary differences between males and females. So you can know this for yourself. You can study it on your own. You can do your own transvestigation, and you can also teach your children and future generations to come, because we live in a society that the Vatican is so bent on confusing us on the truth about even our own selves. We live in a world in which a man can identify what a woman looks like, and a woman can identify what a man looks like, and a woman doesn't even know what a woman looks like, and a man doesn't even know what a man looks like, because this confusion is deliberate and is coming from the Vatican. They want you to be confused on everything, because once you're confused on everything, you cannot know the truth for your own self. So it's important that you read through this document, because if we lived in a world in which it was a perfect world, the secondary characteristics for both male and females would line up. But we live in a world in which there are poisons in our food, our water, the air we breathe, and this is making the secondary male and female characteristics to be mixed up. So, for example, a female can have an Adam's apple. That does not change the fact that she is female, because we deal with the primary. The primary difference between males and females lies in the skeleton. The skeleton determines the sex, not the secondary male or female characteristics, which can be changed through surgery and which can be changed through hormonal intake, which a lot of people are taking otherwise without knowing, in the food, water, and drinks that we have every day. So you find out today you have very masculine looking females, but their skeletal structure still tells you that they're female, even though the secondary female characteristics, they don't have it anymore. It looks like they have much more of the male secondary characteristics. And so with males as well, you find very effeminate looking males in our world today. Even though they have this secondary female characteristics, their skeletal structure is still male. So that's why we always advise anybody, when you're doing a transvestigation, make sure that you're labeling or you're featuring or you're making sure that what you're looking at in trying to identify the sex is the skeletal structure and not the female and male secondary characteristics. Okay, so always remember that. That's why on our channel we always tell everybody, if you come up on trying to identify somebody based on the secondary female or male characteristics which the Vatican wants you guys to focus on, then you're going to be added to the spam list for slandering people, because you have to base your investigation on the primary characteristics, which lies in the skeletal structure, which we're taking a look at right now since we're already here. So for a first-time subscriber, just pause the video, go watch the primer video first, then you can come back and continue watching this video later on for all the subscribers and those who have already been here. So let's get into this. So if you look into the left of our screen right here, you see that there is an arch in this lady's back. Why does a female have an arch in her back? The arch in her back is because the pelvis of a female is tilted forward. Why is the pelvis of a female tilted forward? The pelvis of a female is tilted forward so that the baby can stay inside the pelvic region for the 9 months of conception that a baby has to go through before he or she is being born into this world. Also, the arch in the female's back is extra support so that the weight of pregnancy can be distributed across the body, so the lady doesn't have a problem walking, hurting herself or her baby. So that's why a female has an arch in her back. The arch is going to be shaped like a C. So that means when you look at a female's back, the back is going to be shaped like a C if you draw the arch from below the shoulder blades. If you draw it from high above the shoulder blades, it's going to form an S-shaped back. So always remember those letters. A female has an S or a C-shaped back, and a male that you're looking at over here has a D, a P, or a straight back. Men do not have any arches in their back, as you can see here, because the pelvis of a man is not tilted forward. It's not a requirement that the pelvis should be tilted forward, because men will never give birth. Men have never given birth, and it's never going to happen. It doesn't matter the advancement in technology, all right, that the so-called elite, all right, or the albino supremacists in the Vatican will impute upon the world. A man will never give birth. Any stories that you're listening to, if you find out that they tell you that a man has given birth, you have to understand that that man was a woman. That means the skeletal structure will be female, and the secondary characteristics which they're trying to impute to you and tell you that it's a man of maybe facial hair and muscles and everything else is done through some sort of drugs, hormonal intake, or surgery. So a man will never give birth. So the back of a man is always going to be shaped like a D or a P and straight into the pelvis without any arch. So I want you guys to always remember those letters. C and S for a female's back, D, P, straight for a male's back. Doesn't matter if he's got the ribs removed, you're still going to have a straight back. It's not going to arch. Okay, so when people mutilate themselves and say that they're trying to change their gender from the gender that they were born with, this can never happen, because the skeletal structure will always remain the same. Nothing can change the skeletal structure. That's why from dead remains of skeletons, we can identify the sex of someone, because the skeletal structure never ever changes. Okay, so I scroll further into the document just to show you that a female's back will always arch, and you can see right here there's an arch in this lady's back because her pelvis is tilted forward, and you see that deep C arch in the back from this position that she's kneeling down. I scroll further into the document just to show you that the size of a female doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she's big, tall, or small. Regardless, there's always going to be an arch in a female's back. As you can see right here, there's a big female to my left, arch in the back, her pelvis is tilted forward. Small female to my right, arch in the back, and her pelvis is tilted forward. Right arch in the back, pelvis tilted forward for the small female. Scroll forward into the document just show you that a lady with muscles working out in the gym, taking hormones to have so much muscles like a man, nothing can change that skeletal structure. There's always going to be an arch in a female's back, as you can see here, regardless of her age, ethnicity, color of skin, texture of hair. There's always going to be an arch in a female's back. Always going to be an arch, another muscular female arch in her back. All right, so let's go over and play a short clip to show you one of the most identifying features that distinguishes the sexes, which is the hips. The hips of a female is below the crotch. The hips of a male are above the crotch because one is designed to give birth and the other is not. So let's go do that. So here is the clip, which is going to show how females get measured into clothes, and this is how females get measured into clothes all around the world, regardless of where they are, because you have to understand that clothes are sewn all around the world and shipped to many different countries, and the clothes will fit any woman, because in the design of the clothes, the person who's designing the clothes has to make sure that the location of the hips that she's measuring for that female or for that particular cloth that she's sewing is always going to be below the crotch. Okay, as you can see right here, let me play it a little bit further up so you can see what a regular woman looks like. So what I mean by a regular woman is that with women naturally, I mean regular in the sense that how naturally a woman looks. A woman's shoulders are always going to be much more narrow, and her hips will be the widest portion in her body. That's how normal women look. But in most cases, this is not always the case. There are females whose shoulders are wider than their hips. Regardless, the location of the hips is always going to be below the crotch. Okay? So it doesn't matter how wide the female is with her shoulders. It doesn't matter how wide her waist is. The location of the female hip is below the crotch. There's no such thing as shoulder to hip ratio that can make a female male. The location of a female hip is below the crotch. Okay? And a female's hips are always going to be wider. Why is a female's hips, why are the female hips rather wider? Is because a female has a wide pubic arch. The wide pubic arch is the space in between the crotch. Why does a female have a wide pubic arch? So that a baby can come outside of the womb. All right? So because of that wide pubic arch, everything in the pelvis of a woman is further stretched apart. So that's why the hips are further wider apart in the body, because of the wider pubic arch, which pushes everything further apart. So the Q angle of a female is always going to start below the crotch. And what is the Q angle? The Q angle is the angle between the hip and the knee. And for females, females have a very acute angle, acute Q angle, while males do not, because a man's hip is never ever going to be wide as a female hip. Okay? So with regular females, if you notice, a woman starts spreading and getting wider from underneath her elbows. So if you're a female, just put your hands around your body, you start seeing that you start getting wider. And the widest point will always be the hips below the crotch. Now, another reason why the hips are below the crotch is so that there can be enough space inside the pelvic region, and the hips are out of the way when a woman is about to give birth. Unlike a man, in which his hips are above the crotch, because his genitalia needs to be outside the body so it can function optimally. So you have to remember that. Okay, so this is how a female gets measured, and you can see right here the tape's going to go around the widest portion in her body, which is the hips, and it is below the crotch, as you can see where exactly that tape goes around. So this female is going to turn around so you can see from the back where the location of that hip is at, and also the acute Q angle that females have from behind. So I always say, If you have a problem trying to identify somebody by looking at the person from the front and you have difficulty locating the Q angle and the hips from the front, try to see if you can find a picture from the back, because once you see the person from the back, you're going to know exactly that this is either male or female because of how acute the Q angle is going to be. So the hips of a female are slightly above the bum line but below the crotch from the front. If this was a man, this Q angle would start higher up and farther away from this bum line, because that's how males are and females are this way that you're seeing right here. So with that, let's continue on and talk about some few things. Then we can get into the transvestigation of Mr. Bill Gates. You know, when looking at Bill Gates, most times, I mean, when the first time I ever saw Bill Gates, I'm not meeting him physically, but every time I looked at Bill Gates, there was something always off about the man. But we just couldn't figure out because, you know, as growing up as children and everything else, they tell you this is the richest man in the world, and since we're all been conditioned to look for money instead of being conditioned to grow our own crops and grow our own animals and have land and farm to feed and, you know, sustain ourselves, we are always being conditioned from childhood to look after money. So that's why a baby born into this world under a couple of months knows the difference between money and paper, because we've been conditioned right from childhood to know that. So when we looked at Bill Gates for a very long time, we always knew there was something off about the man, but we couldn't tell because, as usual, we believed everything that they told us, not knowing that there is a monarchy behind our lives controlling what we see, what we read, and what we hear, and it happens to be the albino supremacists in the Vatican today. So somebody's going to say, what does that mean? What does that mean, albino supremacists? Now, a lot of people don't understand that when you say you're white, what you're saying in essence is you're an albino, because they don't know the history of the word. White is not a color. White is not a designation for color. White is an absence of all color. So when you say you're white, what you're saying in essence is you're an albino, from the Latin word albus. If you're interested in understanding that, look for the playlist on the channel called The Myth of Whiteness. It has up to 15 parts. It goes in depth to make you understand who you are and that we are all black at the end of the day, and some are albinos of blacks. That's all what it is. Now, this history is being hid from you so that the myth of white supremacy, the myth of white superiority, can be used to run the world, because the elite need it to survive. The white or albino elite needed to remain in power because they don't want to get bred out by their black dominant people. Okay, so if you're interested in that, go on, get on the channel and look for that particular playlist called Myth of Whiteness. So let's continue on with Mr. Bill Gates here, because Mr. Bill Gates here is a Vatican stooge. Okay, and like I said before, we always thought that he was weird looking, but we couldn't really understand why this so-called man was so weird and didn't fit into the, you know, the normal male, the ways male looks. Okay, and that's Bill Gates right there. And here is Avicii. We'll be showing you a couple of songs that Avicii has made. I think he died. Let's see what the date says here that he died. He died on the 20th of April. That means it was 2 days ago from the making of this video. He's had so much songs. If you've been to anywhere, maybe you've gone shopping, you're in a mall, you're in maybe an EDM club, or you've been in somewhere place like a gym, you've probably heard Avicii sing. And so there's a couple of songs that Avicii is very, very popular for. One is called Wake Me Up, Avicii Wake Me Up. Another one is called Avicii Levels, Avicii Hey Brother. Burn by Ellie Goulding was produced by Avicii, and I think, is it Burn? I'm not sure about that one, but these three right here are all Avicii songs. So if you're interested in knowing what type of songs that Avicii was making, and just type into your search engine Avicii, or get on YouTube and just type Avicii, and the songs will come up, and then you will know who Avicii is. So with that said, before we continue on with this particular video, this is the part that we have to put out a warning on our channel to let you understand that there is no slandering allowed on our channel. If you're gonna ask a question about someone's gender in the comment section, you have to provide proof based on the primary identification for male and female, which lies in the skeletal structure, because the female skeletal structure is designed to give birth and the male skeletal structure is not. So you have to bring that proof in links of pictures in the comment section. If you question someone's gender without providing proof, you're going to be considered to be slandering and spreading frivolous rumors about the person, and you're going to get blocked. So you can bring up the secondary male or female characteristics of saying, so this person has a strong jawline, has a brow ridge or brow bossing, has a slanting forehead, has a square jaw, looks womanish or looks mannish, has long arms, long torsos, has Adonis belts, has an Adam's apples, which are all secondary characteristics of identifying gender, because the secondary is based on the primary. So you have to define and show your proof in the primary difference, showing that the person either has hips below the crotch or does not, has a pelvis that's tilted forward, an arch in the back, and a wide pubic arch. If you do not contain, if your analysis of the person does not contain that in links of pictures, you're going to get blocked from leaving comments on our channel. If you provide a Google search result of the person as your proof, you're still going to get blocked. You have to provide specific links of pictures based on the primary identification in the skeleton, which we just mentioned. Also, if you provide a YouTube video or any link of a video that you did not make yourself as proof that somebody else made the proof, you're still going to get blocked. If you want to make some sort of spread rumors and slander people because you can identify them, you can send us an email. We can talk about every rumor through email. All right, our email is the same as the channel name at gmail.com. So that's what you need to do on this channel. That's what because we are only here to provide the truth, and because of trying to provide the truth, the Vatican has been hard at work trying to shut us down. All right, because we do not entertain information without any facts. They landed a strike on account, even though the strike has gone away, but we know that the Vatican, being who they are, because they own YouTube and they give us such frivolous let's say information as that they had the YouTube community doesn't like a particular video. There's no such thing as a YouTube community. The YouTube community is the Vatican, because the Vatican owns YouTube and YouTube is the Vatican. So we are using their platform to talk, because they are hiding behind YouTube and trying to make us believe that they do not own YouTube. The Vatican is an entity which hides and doesn't want to show its face. If you've ever heard of the word the hidden hand that runs the world, it is the Vatican. It is not the Jews. The Jews are a front. The Jews were created by the Vatican. If you're interested in all that information, get our book. Our book is currently out. When you send us an email, we'll let you know of the price and cost of shipping. And if you don't get an email, just know that we have limited copies, and we have an email list which we have to go through to make sure that the people who did request for the book get a chance to buy it first before you do, because we serve people on a first come first basis. Okay, first come first serve basis. So if you're interested in the book, you send us an email, and when we get to your turn, we'll send you the price and cost of shipping. So just be patient, because we have a list and you get on the list as well. So the Vatican has been hard at work trying to shut us down because of telling you guys the truth. This particular strike that you're looking at was landed on account for the Selena Q video. Selena Q was a very popular Hispanic singer, and she, or he rather, had been lying to the world, deceiving the Hispanic community that he was female when she was not. So we made a video, and YouTube, which is the Vatican, landed a strike on account and said that the video had nudity on it, when it had no such thing. They should have, if the video had nudity, they should have given us the minute mark on where that particular nudity was on the video, but they did not do that because it doesn't exist. They're just busy trying to shut us down for telling you guys the truth. So that's why I put all this information in a book for you. And we want you also to send us an email, even if you're not interested in the book. So we keep you on our email list of correspondences, because we're working on our website, and we'll be working on movies in the future, so that you can get all this information and know the truth concerning your world, so you're no longer deceived. All right. So if you're interested in watching the Selling the Q video, please go look for the Bono video on the channel. It will give you instructions on how to watch that. So with that said, let's go over a few things before we get into the transvestigation of Mr. Microsoft, who's actually a Vatican stooge, because everything that's in this world is run by the Vatican. They own it. They own everything that has to do with facets with your life. They own everything. They own it by proxies like Bill Gates, like, you know, Michael Bloomberg. You hear of Richard Branson, which we're going to show in some of the pictures. Those, we are not transvestigating Richard Branson or Michael Bloomberg. We're just letting you know that these are proxies that the Vatican uses to control and run your world. So you do not know that the Vatican, the so-called Illuminati, which you hear all day, is the Vatican and not the Jews. So let's get into that. So before we get into the transvestigation of Mr. Microsoft and Mr. Bill Gates, I just want to play you guys a short clip right here. Now, this clip is very, very pertinent for you to watch and understand what's going on, because the albino supremacists in the Vatican do understand that God is a black man with woolly hair, as the video you're going to watch is going to show. But they maltreat and degrade black people all around the world because they are working for the devil themselves. And the devil they're working also for is a black man with woolly hair, because the devil was created in the image of God as well. Okay? But here they are degrading people and making us believe in the concept of race so that they can maintain themselves as the elite and not get bred out and remain in power. So they know this truth. The albino supremacists in the Vatican know the truth about our world, but they are twisted in their minds because the devil is making them believe in a twisted way about the truth they know. So I'm going to play this short clip. I just thought it was something that you guys should notice and watch. And then we can continue on with the transvestigation of Mr. Bill Gates. So let's do that first.
Absolute chaos. We've got blizzards in Africa, we've got tsunamis in Paris, and the whole thing's been
Gosh darn it. With over 100%.
absolute chaos. We've got blizzards in Africa, we've got tsunamis in Paris, and the whole thing's been
Gosh darn it.
So as you can see from that clip, it's about an ad for Motorola, and it's kind of making the fact that if your battery goes down, it's just a nice ad from Motorola trying to say if your battery goes down, God knows what's going to happen. But they're actually showing you in this particular video, as you see right here, that the person looking at your screen right there and looking at all the chaos that's going on in the world has woolly hair and is a black man. right, wearing white. So he's looking at the world and all the chaos that's going on, the hurricanes or whatsoever. And at the end of the video right here, it says, what does it say? When your phone dies, God knows what can happen. So in a nutshell, what, or rather, that's trying to say that God uses Motorola. All right. And this is the this is trying to some sort of visual reality of that he's sitting in heaven and looking down at what's going down on in the earth with all the chaos that's happening, looking at the screen right here, in that his battery has died, to see all the chaos. So the Vatican knows the truth about our world, but they're hiding it from you, and they're only interested in telling you lies every single day, so you do not come to the reality that indeed God created us all in his image, and the image that you're looking at is black with woolly hair. There's no such thing as race. There's only one human race, and it's black with woolly hair, and everybody else comes from that and is an albino. And albinism is caused by breeding. That means siblings breeding amongst themselves. That is the cause of albinism. If you the best way to prove albinism is this, because if we had been growing our crops and our own animals, we would notice this, because that's why God gives us that's the only thing the Bible talks about, in which God tells us to plant our own crops and grow our own animals for our daily sustenance. If you notice, if you have, let's say, if you're involved in animal husbandry and you're trying to, let's say you brought in some sort of, let's say goats, for example. You brought in 2 goats, a male and a female, and you try to breed these goats into a very big population. You will notice that if you keep breeding the same, if these 2 goats that are breeding, after, let's say, let me be the 3rd or 4th or 5th generation of those goats breeding, without bringing in another different goat into that particular fold, you would notice that this goat, after a certain while, will start get sickly and weak. Why is that? Because albinism is taking place among the animal husbandry. So if you do that with any kind of, let's say, animals, after a certain period of time, albinism sets in, and these animals just start getting sick, even though you're giving them the best care and best food. Why? Because albinism has set in. Inbreeding amongst those animals without another external genetic factor or another external genetic person or animal coming into that fold, the animals get sick and weakly, and that is the reason for albinism, inbreeding. Okay, so let's get on and continue on with the transvestigation of Bill Gates. We'll go take a look at his Wikipedia page just to show you that it's littered with the Vatican Code of Numbers as usual. And a lot of people may hear about the Vatican Code of Numbers and don't really understand what it's all about. If you're hearing me say that for the very first time on this channel, go on the channel and look for the playlist called Vatican Code of Numbers, or look for the Lisa Lopez or Lisa Lopes video. I don't know if it's pronounced Lopez or Lopes, but it's spelled L-O-P-E-S. I go into in-depth detail in explaining what the Vatican Code of Numbers is all about. And there's a whole playlist for it in which we keep showing you. But the Lisa Lopes or Lisa Lopez video will give you the best in-depth analysis of what the Vatican Code of Numbers is all about. For those who are already on our channel, then they should know already, because you can see right here, his name is William Henry Gates III. All right. The Vatican Code of Numbers is right there in effect because it's a Vatican-owned stooge, and Mr. Bill Gates is Mrs. Bill Gates. And so all this while we've been cheering on and saying this is man who's brought us Microsoft. I'm very sure Bill Gates knows nothing about coding. He's just a spokesperson, the face of the Vatican. He just speaks for the Vatican. That's all what he is. Because he's traveling. The Vatican makes us. Here's the best way I can put it. Oh, the Vatican doesn't want you to know that it's them running your world. So they use this kind of proxies, because if the world knows it's the Vatican, they're all going to have a target on their backs, because you're going to know this is the problem. This is your problem. Okay, so they don't want you to know that, so they deflect to so many proxies which they use: the Jews, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the banking system, the multinationals, which they all own. They all own all these people, and they make you believe that that is the cause of your problems. So Bill Gates right here is another stooge of the Vatican. So if the Vatican wants to send a message to somebody very, very important, which they don't want to send that message maybe to an agent of theirs, or through maybe phone or email, they send Mr. Bill Gates. So he keeps traveling all around the world, and people keep accepting him, accepting her, not knowing they're accepting a Vatican agent, and he's coming down to pass so much information directly to the agents in that country so they can keep on enslaving people for the Vatican, because that's what the Vatican does, enslaving the world for the devil himself, who needs that enslavement because he knows what's going to happen in the future. We don't have time to talk about that now, but when you get a book, you'll understand what's going on. So if you're interested in reading about Bill Gates and see the Vatican Code of Numbers littered all over his page, just get on your search engine and go type in Bill Gates and read up about his history, and you will see the Vatican Code of Numbers littered everywhere to show you that this man was a Vatican stooge, a servile slave created under the protocols of Zion, which the Vatican made to use people to control our reality. So we think that things are happening organically and naturally, so we can naturally accept the laws and the enslavement that we're being enslaved, and think that since things are happening naturally, this is the way things ought to be. Okay, so you can, if you read through, he says at 13 he enrolled in the Lakeside School, a private preparatory school, when Gates was in the 8th grade at 13 years of age. Why are we interested in what he was doing at 13? Because it's a Vatican Code of Numbers, so that anybody picking up this particular page and reading up on Bill Gates will say, oh, Bill Gates is one of us. All right, so they can know, because they have a system and code in which they talk among themselves to let them know what is happening, so that they can understand their coded language. All right, so let's continue and show you some pictures of Mr. or Mrs. Bill Gates, as we call them right now. So here is Bill Gates right here. As you can see, Bill Gates, sorry if I said Bill Gates, Bill Gates starts spreading from underneath his elbows, as you can tell right here, and you can see how wide his hips are, and the Q angle is below the crotch, because Bill Gates is 100% female. He's not a male in any way, shape, or form, a stooge of the Vatican. Here's another picture of Bill Gates. As you can see, that's why we always thought Bill Gates looks weird. It's a woman, it's not a man. Look at this. Start spreading from underneath the elbows, as all females are, and the Q angle is so acute, as you can see right here, and it's below the crotch, because Bill Gates is 100% female, not a man in any way, shape, or form. Another picture of Bill Gates. Look at Bill Gates again right here. Look at how wide he starts spreading from underneath that elbows. Wider, 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 wider. Look at that. Huge, humongous hips, because Bill Gates is 100% female and not a man in any way, shape, or form. That's why when if you've been looking at Bill Gates, you wonder, he looks weird. You know, something is off, but you can't tell what it is, because he's a transgender, a stooge of the Vatican. The Vatican takes children, babies at very young ages, and molds them into whatever they think that this baby should be, as products to use to run your reality, to create a false sense of reality for you, so that when there's narrow-minded people speak, they speak with so much in emotion, truth, and conviction, because that's all they know. That's what they've been trained to do, so that you can believe that these things are coming naturally from them, and that they are not lying but telling you the truth. I'm sure Bill Gates doesn't know a thing about any line of code. His mind is so confused about his gender, he doesn't have time to think about any other thing. Let's go. And here's Bill Gates with his so-called wife of Melinda Gates. So all this while, and this Melinda Gates looks, she looks, let me not say anything, because I don't like slandering people, okay? And we encourage people not to slander. But at the same time, let's just believe that this is a woman right here at this point in time, just for the purposes of this video. But I'm saying the face doesn't look right, okay? So all the time that we've been looking at this couple and thinking, oh, these are two nice heterosexual couples, they are two homosexuals, two females right here. They've been lying to us all along and spreading homosexuality everywhere they go. All right, let's go another picture of Bill Gates. As you can see, this Q angle right here is below the crotch. See how acute that is? So acute. Don't worry about this long fly that he's wearing or whatsoever. They're trying to make you feel like, the end of the crotch is right here, but the end of his crotch is right here. And this is the Q angle below it, very acute, because Bill Gates is 100% female. And this is man, who's this man? This is also another rich man. What's his name again? Let me make sure I can get the name of this dude. If he's worth taking a look into, we'll do that in the future. The man behind is Warren Buffett. Well, we don't know if Warren Buffett is male or female, but just for the purpose of this video, let's just agree to the gender that he claims that he's male. So if you guys have been believing in Warren Buffett, if Warren Buffett was so truthful, because this is another stooge of the Vatican, another face of the Vatican, another proxy of the Vatican, if he was interested in the truth, he should have told you that Bill Gates is a woman. But they all are there working for the Vatican, enslaving the world to the albino supremacists in the Vatican, because they don't care about anything that you say, because Bill Gates here is 100% female. And if Warren Buffett is a man and was interested in the truth, and like he's always talking about how much he cares about people and the stuff, he should be able to tell you the truth, that one of his friends is a woman masquerading around as a man. But he never said that. All right, let's go another picture of Bill Gates. As you can see, this is clear as night and day. If you wanted to end this video right here, this picture should suffice. But you can see the hourglass figure and how wide and thick in the middle Bill Gates is, because Bill Gates is 100% female. 100%. He has no male trait, no masculinity in it. Look at this acute Q angle below the crotch, and look at the hourglass figure that she's been hiding throughout the years. Bill Gates. So when we're on your computer thinking that Mr. Bill Gates produced it for you, like I'm using a computer right now, you don't know that the Vatican is the one who did this. They use Bill Gates as a proxy, so you can accept the computer and not know for a single second that the people producing everything that you're using for your life and running your life and causing all the havoc and mayhem in this world on behalf of Satan is the Vatican. The Vatican was one run by black woolly haired people. Today is run by albinos. And they are still doing the same thing, because the elite all work for the devil. This is some truth that you have to accept into your life. There is nothing good in the organized system of this world that the elites run. It doesn't matter if they're black with woolly hair or albinos. They're still doing the same thing that's working for the devil to enslave you. And like we've always started to say on the videos, if the only thing you're getting from watching the videos is that there is transgenders, that there is white supremacy, the Vatican is running a world, and that we are all black, you're getting the wrong message. The message that you ought to get from all this is that all this is happening because there is a fight for your soul. It's causing you to pick a side. What side are you going to pick? You're going to pick a side for the devil, or you're going to pick a side for God? It's a fight for your soul. All this confusion is for you to make a decision. So if all what you're getting from the videos is that, I'm afraid you're getting the wrong message, and you're going to end up in the wrong place. So you can see that Bill Gates right here has an hourglass figure spreading wider from underneath the elbows, and the Q angle is below the crotch, because Bill Gates is 100% female and is not a man in any way, shape, or form. That's why he's been looking so weird when you look at him and say there is something off and you couldn't place a finger on it. Bill Gates, 100% female. All right, let's go another picture of here. I think this is Bill Gates again with, is it Melinda? All right. And look at the hourglass figure. The Q angle below here is so acute because Bill Gates is 100% female. Still spreading and getting wider from underneath the elbows like all females do. And the widest point is below the crotch. Acute Q angle, female hips, because he was designed to give birth and is not a man in any way, shape, or form. A proxy, a stooge of the Vatican. We'll take a look at Melinda Gates later on, because I don't know why. It could just be maybe I'm suffering from cognitive dissonance, because we all suffer from cognitive dissonance, because the Vatican has estranged our psyche away from us. We're so confused nowadays. They've done this to us. So let's keep on moving to another picture of Bill Gates. And here is Bill Gates in Africa. Here is the current president of, I think, Nigeria. And this is the richest man in Africa by the name. He's also Nigerian. His name is Dangote. Dangote. All right. So this is how the Vatican, because people think that, Africa is out of the loop in the worldwide albino supremacy, but it's not, because these are all agents of the Vatican. It doesn't matter what color they come in. So Bill Gates here is sent because when people hear Bill Gates, they're going to accept him. The common people are going to accept him, not knowing that they are sending, that this is a Vatican agent visiting other Vatican agents and give them instructions on how to run Africa or Nigeria, in this case, an example. We made a video especially dedicated to Africans. The video is called Boyega, African Special Edition, Black Panther Part 1. So please, if you're African, all right, you need to watch that video. Get on the channel and look for it. And like with every video that we have on this channel, please download, save it, re-upload it, share it with people so that the truth can be known. Because Bill Gates here is a female, a Vatican stooge, sent to give a direct message to the leaders, to other agents, to these black agents who are helping to make albino supremacy our reality. And we've explained in the book that albino supremacy, as much as it is a physical, ideology, is also a mental ideology, which everybody can practice, irrespective of the color of their skin or the texture of their hair, as long as it serves to the benefit of the albino supremacists in the Vatican. Anybody can practice it. So black people practice it against their own people, and whites or albinos practice it against their own people. Albino supremacy. All right, let's move on to another picture of Bill Gates. Here's Bill Gates trying to play tennis. As you can see, this Q angle, humongous looking hips is below the crotch. Let me blow this picture up, even though it's blurry, so you can see clearly that this is a woman. As it gets wider from underneath the elbows, wider, and the widest point is below the crotch. 100% female, and not a man in any way, shape, or form. Been deceiving us for so many years that he or she is the inventor of Microsoft, when she's not. It's always been the Vatican behind it. Bill Gates, a stooge of the Vatican. And here's Bill Gates with Melinda Gates. And we'll just call Melinda Gates a female for now, like we say, until we come up with evidence. But you can see that Bill Gates has such wide, humongous hips for a male. Can you believe that? And this is below the crotch. See how wide these hips are, and the way he crosses his leg is so comfortable because this is 100% female. 100% female. And you guys, you need to, let me go back to this particular picture of Bill Gates with these African or Nigerian leaders. If these guys were so much in love with the truth like they tell you in so many African countries, and they were working for your own good, the first truth they should have told you is that this is a weird looking man and he's a woman, because they know for a fact, but they won't tell you any of this. They're not working in your own best interest, because as we're seeing right here, Bill Gates is 100% female with these wide, humongous hips below the crotch, as you can tell from this acute Q angle and how wide she sits, because Bill Gates is 100% female, not a man in any way, shape, or form. A liar. So when we've always been believing that Microsoft, the computers that we use, the phones that we use, that they are all inventions of private people who, through some sort of hard work and providence, are able to give us this gift into our lives, we don't know that it's coming straight from the arms of the devil, from the arms of the Vatican themselves, into our lives. All right, let's go. Another picture of Bill Gates. And here is Bill Gates with some of the stooges that I talked about early on the program, early on the video. This is Michael Bloomberg and Richard Branson, all stooges of the Vatican. These are the proxies. So when the Vatican doesn't want you to know that it's them, they use these people as, and they say, oh, Michael Bloomberg, Richard Branson. You don't know, they are all high-degree Jesuits, Vatican agents, working for the Vatican to enslave the world to them. Look at them right here. If there was so much, let's say, for example, that these two are males as they say they are. If they were telling you the truth, they should have told you the first truth and screamed to the high heavens that this female around here is masquerading as a man and is not. Simple truth. So that's why you can't trust anybody that you see on TV or make role models of them. They're all working for the Vatican. All right, here's Bill Gates again, still trying to play tennis. As you can see, this acute Q angle and humongous hips is below the crotch. Below, look at that, wider, 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 and it's totally outside the torso of the body because the hips are always the widest part of a female's body. Outside of it, Q angle below the crotch because Bill Gates is 100% female. And the world has been lying to us day in and night, saying that this is a man. All right. Another picture is you can still see that those humongous hips below the crotch because Bill Gates is 100% female, not a man in any way, shape, or form. Another picture, and here's Bill Gates sitting down. I want you guys to take a look at how wide the pubic arch is right here. And look and think, look and see if there is any scrotum. It looks like, does it look like Bill Gates has any scrotum here? This looks like labia, a female labia. There is no scrotum in here because Bill Gates is 100% female. Grace from childhood as a baby used to influence our world. They specially selected him and said, oh, you'd be the face of Microsoft. The Vatican specially selected her to do that. Look at that. There is no such thing as a scrotum in here, only a labia. As you can see from that wide pubic arch, that this is a woman sitting and this is not a man. And see how long this pelvis is? Because a female's pelvis starts from right inside, halfway inside the torso of her body, and it travels longer down to where the hips. See how wide this is? If this was a man, this shouldn't just be a long pelvis this way. It should start very, very, abruptly and end quickly. A shorter pelvis range. But Bill Gates is 100% female. Not a man in any way, shape, or form. All right. So when we're typing out using Microsoft Word like you see right here, you're using a Vatican tool. All right, let's go. Bill Gates again, as you can see, look at that. Look at how wide he spreads from there. Look at the arch in the back, how wide he spreads, and the Q angle right here is below the crotch. So when a lot of people, when you're looking up to Bill Gates and you say Bill Gates is my idol, you're looking at the wrong thing. When you think that you're going to be like Bill Gates, you've set for yourself a standard in the world which cannot be achieved because Bill Gates doesn't know anything. Whatever he tells you is all lies. He doesn't know a line of code. He can talk about it, but I'm sure he doesn't know a clue because he's the face of the Vatican. Acute Q angle below the crotch, arch in the back, always looking weird because we always wondered why does he look so weird? It's because he's a female. He's not a man. All right. Another picture of Bill Gates, and you can still see that wide Q angle. Let me blow this up so you can see those humongous hips that he has. Look at that. Look at that. It gets wider away from the body as he sits. Q angle below the crotch. Look at those thighs. Look at those thick thighs. All right, round thighs that females have. And look, and you know what? A female thigh will always be so thick, and then as it gets towards the knees, it's going to form that sort of pencil shape. This is what Bill Gates has right here. There is no scrotum in here, just a labia, as you can tell, and a very long pelvis from inside the middle of the body, the torso of the body. Wide hips, acute Q angle, because Bill Gates is spreading like a female when she is sitting down because she is one. 100% female, not a man in any way, shape, or form. Let's go, another picture. You can still see that arch in the back right there because Bill Gates is 100% female. And whosoever this is who's playing a game with him, I think this is the Amazon chief, the person who's also another stooge of the Vatican because they want us to believe that Amazon is privately owned. No, it's owned by the Vatican, and this is just a proxy. So when you're buying stuff from Amazon, you're buying from the Vatican. They own everything, and they tell you it's the Jews. Don't fall for that trick. Get a book so you can understand. Here's Bill Gates, much younger. You can still see the wide hips. Acute Q angle below the crotch. Wide, humongous looking hips because she is 100% female, as you can tell by that face. This is no man. All right. Another picture. Bill Gates again sitting. As you can see, that's a wide pubic arch right there, shaped like a U. Because when a woman sits and spreads her thighs, it's going to be shaped like a U. A man's going to be shaped like a V because of the wide pubic arch that the female has. Bill Gates, 100% female. Not a man in any way, shape, or form. That's why I always look so weird. Here's Bill Gates with Mark Zuckerberg, which we've already featured. These are two females, two stooges of the Vatican. So whatever's going on with Mark Zuckerberg in the news right now, he's under being the Senate is querying him, or Senate panel or whatever. It's all a show. It's all a charade. Politics is a well-organized machine, all run by the Vatican. So whatever you're watching, all the drama you're watching is just drama. They're all friends, together, all of them, working for the Vatican. But here is Bill Gates sitting right here. As you can see that he's spreading, or she's spreading wider as she sits, because she's a female and spreading on that seat, because Bill Gates is 100% woman, just like Mark Zuckerberg. Let's go. Another picture of Bill Gates again. As you can see, look at that. Hourglass figure, acute Q angle below the crotch, hips below the crotch, because this guy right here is female. Bill Gates, 100% female, acute Q angle below the crotch, because he's 100% woman and not a man in any way, shape, or form. You can even tell from the chest. That's the chest of a female. Someone who's trying to grow, who's maybe they've given him so much testosterone, given her rather so much testosterone, but you can still see that the mammary gland still wants to grow out of this chest because it's being suppressed. Bill Gates, 100% female, a stooge of the Vatican, an agent of the Vatican for the Vatican. Let's go. Another picture. Here's Bill Gates with a United Arab Emirates Prime Minister. So they run the Arabs. So when people think, oh, the Muslim world, you hear people like Louis Farrakhan and all those great Muslim leaders, or like the Shah of Iran. You know, people think that these people are actually against the albino supremacist Vatican. You've been fooled. You're very gullible. They all work together because Islam is an invention of the Vatican. People don't know that. But when you get our book, we get into fine details and show you with proof and facts. Islam is only going to lead people to one thing. It's going to lead them to the albino Jesus Christ, who's the fake Messiah. That's all what Islam is going to do. But we don't have time to explain that. All we just want to show you that Bill Gates here has an arch in his back, as you can tell, that he gets wider from underneath the elbows, as all females are, and is sent on a mission here to talk and give very private messages to one of their stooges also, which is helping to run the Islamic and Arab world for the Vatican, because they're all working together for the albino supremacists in the Vatican. Stooge, a woman. Bill Gates, 100% female and not a man. Here's Bill Gates again. As you can see, that's a female walking. How do females walk? Because a female has a wider pubic arch, her legs need to do two things. It needs to come inside and forward at the same time. So that's why a female swings from side to side, because of the weight, trying to balance the weight. And that is what Bill Gates is doing here. He's leaning the weight of the body into the foot that's in front of him, because he's trying to stabilize himself because of the wide pubic arch he has. And this acute Q angle is below the crotch, because Bill Gates is 100% female and not a man in any way, shape, or form. Let's go. Another picture of Bill Gates right here. As you can still tell, hourglass figure spreading from underneath the elbows, acute Q angle below the crotch. As you can tell right here, that Bill Gates is 100% female, not a man in any way, shape, or form. And he's having a game with Roger Federer. And Roger Federer, who's a tennis champion, knows for a fact that this is a woman, but he's never told you the truth. Rather, he tells you that he's your people's champion, and you love him. People love him. All these people, creations of the Vatican. Let's go. Bill Gates again. As you can still see, that acute Q angle is below the crotch and still standing like a woman. And people believe that this is a man. We've been sold that he's the richest man in the world. Meanwhile, we don't know that the richest people, the richest monarchy in the world is the Vatican. Preposterous. Just look at this. Look at those humongous hips. Q angle below the crotch, 100% female. Not a man in any way, shape, or form. Look at that arch in the back. Can you see that? Arch in the back, and the hips are starting so higher up in the torso of the body, because this is 100% female. Not a man in any way, shape, or form. A stooge of the Vatican. Let's go. Still see that Q angle? This picture is rather small, but you can still see that the hips are wider. And here's him trying to give a lecture at the school, and a lot of people are going to be looking up and say, oh, Bill Gates came to a school. You don't know that he's a lying, deceiving agent of the Vatican. He hasn't told you one truth. He should have told you right from the get-go, I am a woman. I am a transgender. If he was proud of being transgender, he should have said that. But he never said so, because he knew he would never be accepted. Because we are only created male and female. There's no such thing as hermaphrodites. All that is an invention of the Vatican to confuse people. You will never find anybody in this world have, a vagina, a scrotum, and a penis at the same time. It's never happened. It'll never happen. There's no such thing as hermaphrodites in human beings. All right, let's go. We ended the pictures on Bill Gates, so we're looking at Avicii right now. As you can see, Avicii has that acute Q angle below the crotch. As you can see, all these clothes that they make them wear is just tailor-made to make you feel that you're looking at a male. Don't worry about how long this lapel or fly is. It doesn't end right here because that's the illusion. It ends right here. This is where his crotch ends, and this is where the acute Q angle, as you can see, starts below the crotch, because Avicii was a woman as well. Who knows what she died of. And here's Avicii again with an hourglass figure, as you can see, spreading from underneath the elbows as it gets wider and wider. And this acute Q angle is below the crotch because Avicii was female as well, a DJ in EDM. And as you can see, Avicii has an arch in his back right here, arch in the back rather, because he's 100% woman. It's not a man in any way, shape, or form. All right, another picture of Avicii. As you can see, that hourglass figure and Q angle below the crotch, the pencil-like hips like pencil-like thighs that females have. It's wider and thicker upper above the crotch, and then starts, to taper into like a pencil, the tip of a pencil, as it goes towards the knees. This is what Avicii has right here, and gets wider from underneath that elbows. Even the way he carries his arms, as you can see, the arms are following the contours of the body, the hourglass figure, because a female's arms will always follow the contours of the body and try to be shaped like that hourglass figure that females usually have. Avicii here is 100% female with very wide hips and a cute Q angle below the crotch, as all females' hips are below the crotch. Avicii again with that hourglass figure spreads wider, as you can see right there. A cute Q angle below crotch because Avicii is 100% female. You can even tell by the face that it was a woman all the way. All right, another picture of Avicii here. As you can still see, this is the waist, and you can see that it spreads wider and gets wider from there all the way down. And this acute Q angle is below the crotch because Avicii was 100% female, not a man in any way, shape, or form. Avicii again here, getting off a plane. As you can see, it's clear as night and day. This picture should end it all. As you can see, this acute Q angle is below the crotch. It's trying to sag the jeans and give you the appearance that the crotch is farther down here, but it's right around here. Okay, and this acute Q angle is below it because Avicii is 100% female. You can tell by this acute Q angle that's between the hip and the knee here that you see, because Avicii was 100% female. All right, so we've come to the end of today's video. I hope you learned something. Please subscribe to our second channel, Tricks of the S-Tray 2, in case this channel goes down, so we can have some sort of avenue to reach out to you before our website comes fully online. And also download the videos, save it, spread it. It might be the only history that we have left and the only truth that we have in this world. And we are blessed to work as a team to give you this information every time we get a chance, and to make people understand their world, open their eyes to reality, and help the future generations, because our generation has been confused already, but the future generation may have hope to see clearly, so that it can identify who's their problem and who's their enemy. That is not a black or white person, as the albino supremacists has made us to believe that we should always be at loggerheads between whites and blacks, and a lot of white people looking down on blacks and all that kind of stuff. But it's got nothing to do with it. They are the problem. The elites in your world are the problem, because they all work for the devil. They are controlled by Satan themselves, and they have no good for you. So if you're looking up to them, you're looking at the wrong people. All right? Believe in God Almighty. That's what he says. It's a hard and difficult road. It's not an easy road. Know that. But If you love the truth, you will love that difficult road more than anything else. So, with that, I leave you with these words. Always, always, please look with your eyes, but always see with your brains. Thanks. Talk to you guys later.